And I'm looking around this room, and I know everybody in this room wants to be a person of influence. So in just a moment, we're going to play a game. Now, it's a little bit awkward in this room, but we're going to do it anyways. But before we do, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about DISC. Okay, so DISC. This gentleman right here, Dr. William Marston, in the 1920s, he was a Harvard psychologist. He theorized that human behavior could be broken down into 4 distinct styles, D, I, S, and C. Now, we are all a unique blend of all 4 styles. However, 1 or 2, occasionally 3, really are expressed within us to a greater degree. So we're all 4 styles. However, there's 1 or 2 typically that really is expressed within us. A lot of things go into influence our personality style. So I want to mention those 3 before we do our first exercise. Heredity, environment, and role models. These are 3 factors that influence all of our personality styles. If you think about it, heredity, these were some of the natural patterns that are just within us since birth. Environment, think about the things that have happened, especially those emotionally charged events in our lives. They can play a part in our personality. And role models, especially when you were a kid. Think back to those role models when you were a child growing up, mom, dad, teachers, older siblings. Those people would sort of let us know what behaviors were acceptable. And sometimes we were rewarded for certain behaviors and punished for others. So behavior is complicated. DISC is not an attempt to simplify it. It's just going to speak into our natural wiring. Now we're going to play a little game. Okay, everybody stand up, please. And it's going to be awkward here, but we're going to do it anyway because we'll have some fun. Okay, I think I know how this is going to go. And you guys are probably going to know how this is going to go because of where we are. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Now, we don't need the game cards yet. Some of you are already, see, I told you this is a competitive room. Some of you already got the game cards, don't even know how to use them yet. Got them ready. I love this room. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. And these 2 questions are going to help us determine a lot about your natural personality style. Everybody ready for the first question?
Yes.
Ready for the first question?
Yes.
Okay. Are you more outgoing or reserved? Now, I know what some of you, at least 1, maybe 2 of you are thinking, I'm both. Of course you're both. Which one are you just a little bit more if you're on the fence? Even if it's 49 to 51%. If you're more outgoing, come this way. And if you're more reserved, let's stay in this back half of the room. So all my outgoing friends are going to come this way. Everybody outgoing to the front of the room. If you're more reserved, we're going to stay back here. Okay. Some people got their answers. Okay. See, I already know what group I'm dealing with. Because this is the group that already said, okay. So these are my outgoing friends, right?
Right.
And you guys are my reserved friends, right? Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more question. And this time we're gonna go this way and this way. Stay where you are as far as front and back. Second question. Are you more task-oriented or people-oriented? If you're more people-oriented, this way. And if you're a little bit more task-oriented, stay on this side. But stay front and back while you do it. Okay. People are this way, people-oriented people and task-oriented people. And I know what 1 or 2 of you are thinking, but I'm both. Of course you're both. You're supposed to be both. Which one are you just a little bit more, even if it's 49 to 51%? I want my people here and my task people here. Okay. Everybody feel comfortable for the moment where they are?
Yeah.
Okay, you ladies said you're outgoing and you're people, right? The I group. And you all said you were outgoing and task-oriented, correct? The D group. You guys are task and reserved.
Right, D for danger.
The C group. And you lovely folks are reserved and people-oriented, correct? And this is the S group. Now we need a spokesperson. Don't fight over it. We need you. We need a spokesperson.
I don't have a voice.
Okay,
We're gonna read a couple of descriptive words for each group, and we're gonna see if you still feel comfortable where you are. So this is the D's. Remember, these ladies said they are outgoing and task oriented. So let's read our vocabulary words.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yes, please.
Dominant,
What?
Dominant,
in charge,
in charge,
competitive,
competitive,
and strong-willed.
and strong-willed.
The strongest.
So y'all feel that way? You feel comfortable in your group still?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think we're missing Alicia though.
Yeah.
I'm very low D.
It's interesting because we can show up how we need to show up when the time is right, right? We're gonna talk about that. Okay, eyes, hit it.
Inspiring, fun, talkative, friendly.
Does that feel like this group, ladies? That be us? That be us? Okay. Now we have the S group. They are reserved and people oriented.
Supportive, listener, team player, caring.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, awesome. And last but certainly not least, the C group.
Compliant, analytical, private, careful.
Does that sound right, guys?
Absolutely.
Now, does
I don't
anybody?
know any of them.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Does anybody need to swap groups? Does everybody feel in this moment they're in the right place? Awesome. Anybody feel like a friend needs to swap a group? Alicia feels comfortable where she is. Are we gonna allow these people to stay where they are, ladies?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just by asking two questions, we can kind of sort of figure out where somebody might fall in the DISC model. And it's helpful because it doesn't take us a lot to figure out if somebody's outgoing or reserved, does it? Does it take a lot? No, it really doesn't. And does it take us a lot to figure out if somebody's super people oriented or if they're a little more on the task side? That one may be, but we can discover this simply by interacting with people, can't we? It doesn't take a lot. Okay, everybody, thank you. Let's have a seat. Thank you. We'll see if everybody thinks they were in the right place at the end. Okay. What we just did when we were standing up was we created this DISC model of human behavior. All the folks that were standing up front were D's and I's. They were outgoing. Everybody in the back part of the room, S's and C's, they were reserved. And then we break the model down again, people oriented, the I's and the S's, and the task oriented, the D's and the C's. Now, as we get started, I want to make sure I make something really, really clear. The purpose of DISC is not to put anyone in a box. So just because you were in the D group or the I group or the S or the C group doesn't mean that's always where you fall or that's only where you fall. Remember, we're trying to tap into your natural personality styles. Okay, D group. 3% of the population, thank God, right? They seek control, they're decisive, direct, and results oriented. They are driven by authority. They want to be in charge. They want to take control, right? They're very comfortable with confrontation and they embrace any type of change to help them get results. Notice their greatest fear, being taken advantage of. Yeah. So when you touch on that greatest fear of the D's, watch out, just like every other style. When I was newly DISC certified years ago, I did this presentation at another Keller Williams office and a member of the leadership team was in the office. And she said, thank God you said what you just said. I said, okay, what did I say? She said that any style could make a great leader. D's, you guys are naturally drawn to leadership positions. However, any style can make a great leader and any style can make a poor one. I's, 11% of the population. Persuasive, spontaneous, friendly, and spotlight. Does that sound like you guys when they were in the I group? Yeah. I's are very relationship oriented. They're emotional. They're great storytellers, great encouragers. They treasure great experiences with others. And notice their greatest fear, rejection, loss of approval. Does that resonate with anybody in the I group? That rejection, that loss of approval? Yeah, I did a class for another group. They weren't realtors, but close. They were like property managers. And we talked about this for half the class because almost the entire class was about the I or the S group. So we talked about this rejection and loss of approval. Because with the I's, you bump up against that. Watch out. When I was just certified the first time by the other company, my style was an ID. I didn't want to be an ID. We sat there for 2 days and did training. Every time I took an assessment, I'm like, dang, I'm an I. Dang, I'm an I. Oh, I don't want to be an I. So the second day on the break, I went and I talked to the instructor, Dr. Rome, and I said, Dr. Rome, I really don't want to be an I. And he was an ID. So he was using his as the example the entire time. And so he said, tell me why you want to be a coach. I told him. Tell me why you want to be a speaker. I told him. He kept asking me great questions. And he said, everything you're saying, your style naturally lends itself to that. And he gave me 2 words to think about: grace and humility. Because I told him, I said, Dr. Rome, I don't want to be the kind of person that has to be the center of attention. I don't want to do all the talking. I don't want to be that person, and I don't want other people to see me that way. He said, no problem. Grace and humility. When we are so much of ourselves, when we're all the way in on our strengths all the time, that becomes a weakness. Strengths overused become a weakness. Because if I's are talkative, right, and they have great energy and they're great storytellers, that's awesome when you're up here. Can I do that everywhere in my life and take over and dominate? Becomes a weakness. So grace and humility were the 2 words Dr. Rome gave me. He said, if we practice that, all the styles, we're not going to have any problem running over people. The S's, check out that number, 69% of the population. That's how you know there's a God. The sweetest, loveliest people on the planet are 69% of us. They are team-oriented. They follow through. They're loyal. They're accepting. If you were in that S group, does this sound right to you overall? Yeah, and we're not trying to get 100%. We're just trying to get that overall natural feeling. They're easygoing and agreeable, good listeners, compassionate. They love peaceful relationships. They're evenly paced. These are the great support people on your teams. Greatest fear, loss of security and confrontation. Wow, you got to be careful with the S group not to hit up against that one, right? Now, as I said a moment ago, when I was newly in DISC, I was an ID. When we started our Maxwell DISC and I hadn't taken the DISC assessment for a while, I took it. Now I'm an IS. Guess what? I didn't want to be an IS. I was used to being an ID. What happened? Our styles can change over time. Now, you know what I was first going to do just between us? I'm going to tell you a little secret. I was going to just take another assessment. I was going to pretend like I had never taken that and I was not an IS. And I was going to take another one because nobody would know. And I was going to take it so that I was an ID because I got used to it. Well, instead of doing that, I said, I'm going to teach this, right? Let me dig in and understand why. So I asked myself some questions. And what I discovered is, over the course of several years, I was leaning on those S traits more. I had become a coach. Well, that requires support and listening, right? Way more than than those D traits. And then I was also really heavily involved in culture at Sugarloaf. That's a little more S characteristics than D, right? Although anybody can be involved in culture. But I was leaning on the S traits a lot more than I was on the D. And so my style shifted. Instead of ID, I was now an IS. So what's going to happen if I take it again in a few years? Because I think what happened with COVID is I think my D rose a little bit. Here's what I mean by that. So everybody remembers those early days of COVID when you're at home, right? So my husband and I are making lunch. I'm an IS. I am fast paced, right? D's and I's are outgoing and we're super fast paced. So I had already made my sandwich. I had fruit. I had set the table. The man is still putting a piece of ham on the bread. Jesus, take the wheel. So here we are at home because of COVID, right? And why can't you make a sandwich faster? Why did he have to make a sandwich faster, right? So I think that my D is rising. And the last time I took it, my D and my S are almost tied. My D and my S are almost tied for second place. But nothing's taken over that I for top spot. Let's talk about the C's. We could have put a picture of my husband. That's not him, but we could have put his picture there. C's are compliant, they're analytical, they're planners, they're accurate. They're 17% of the population. Who was in that C group when we stood up a minute ago? Does that sound like you guys? Yeah. You guys are conscientious, accurate, you're detailed, you treasure perfection. Greatest fear, criticism. That one hurts. That one especially hurts for the C's. My husband's a C, God love him. And guess what? This is how I feel about the C's. They're my polar opposites, so to speak. I love you, C's, so much. You're my favorite. I love everything about you because you're everything I'm not. I have no C. It's on the floor. It's underneath the floor. I can't find it. My husband's a C. He's a business analyst, or now they call themselves data analysts at AT&T. When I left the house today, 1, 2, 3 monitors. I could not tell what was happening on any of them. I ran out of the house as fast as I could. I get to do this, I'm an I. Could a D, an S, and a C do this? You bet. But this is my natural wiring. My husband is sitting in front of 3 computers doing God knows what for AT&T. He's a C. It's a natural fit, right? So let me tell you how this works in households and families and with your kids and with your clients and with your partners and everybody else. So we're first married. I didn't really know anything about this, got taken an assessment at work once upon a time. We go out furniture shopping. I am already in the furniture store. I'm like, sofa, lamp, table, that one, write it up. My husband's like, wait a minute, I just parked the car. What's happening? Why are we finished? I mean, and you know what? It used to annoy me to no end. It used to bug me that he was so slow. And now, at almost 15 years in May, we laugh about it because I need him and he needs me. I told y'all my C is on the floor somewhere. It's never been high. Yet, we own a pizza business. Guess what my job is? Payroll. Payroll, I'm an I. Aren't I excited about payroll? My husband gave me that job when we started the business 12, 13 years ago. And in true I fashion, when he said, okay, here's how we're going to divvy up some responsibilities. You take payroll. Well, in true I fashion, I was on the floor and had a fit, rolled around for 5 minutes. And then he looked at me and said, I still need you to do the payroll. And in the beginning, it was really tough because I'm an I. And I'm not naturally drawn to those kinds of tasks, Excel spreadsheets and getting numbers right. But I've been to school, so can't I do it? We can do anything we want and need to do regardless of our styles. That's why we don't put people in boxes, right? Because we can do anything that we need to do. Okay. Terrell, did you bring in the bingo sheets?
I did.
Will you pass those out, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Because we're gonna play, because you guys are so smart. And let's keep them turned over for a second, everybody. Because you guys are so smart, we're gonna play a quick fire round of this bingo. We're gonna play a very quick round of this bingo.
Oh, can I get a set of tags?
Of course. Anybody else need these? We're gonna use these in just a moment. You do need a pen for this bingo. I'm gonna tell you guys while Charles passing out bingo cards before we start bingo. Just like a couple. Okay.
Who still needs a stack?
So I have to tell you guys a story about these disc bingo cards really quick. So the very first time I did a disc presentation was across town. It was either at Noonan or Peachtree City many moons ago. And I wanted my presentation to have a little something. It was missing something at the end. So I get there super early because I live in Gwinnett County. So I left at the crack of dawn. So I still had like, almost an hour before they needed me there. And I go into Office Max and I'm looking around and I'm drawn to colorful things. And I said, what if we played a cute little game? These are still the original cards that I wrote on in my car with a marker. And my husband's like, he's a C. He likes it a little neater, a little better. He's like, why for the love of God have you not ordered some proper laminated cards? Because I love these cards. Because this was a game that came to me in the car. And I was so excited. And every time I pass out these cards, it reminds me of how far I've come. And so I didn't want the perfect laminated cards. I've ordered them twice. I just never finished the checkout process. And my husband's like, are you still using these cards? Yeah. Yeah, I am. Let's play disc bingo. Okay, everybody stop looking at your sheets for a second. Turn them over, please. We're gonna do quick fire disc bingo because you guys are smart and you've been exposed to disc before. So we're gonna do 30 seconds only. And you're gonna read that statement in the box and you're gonna write the letter that you think best corresponds, the style letter that best corresponds with the statement you're reading in the box. Everybody's paper turned over? Keep it turned over. KW doesn't matter your style. If you're at Keller Williams, you're competitive, you want to win. Okay, we're gonna do this for 30 seconds. When I say go, I haven't said go yet. Go. Many as you can, right in the box. Terrell, you don't count. So read the statement, write the letter of the style you think best matches that statement. You guys are so smart, I'm only giving you 30 seconds. Okay, pencils down. Hey, Terrell, you don't count.
30 seconds.
You don't count, Terrell.
I know.
How many people had 15? Anybody have 10? Stand up if you had 10, please. Did anybody have more than 10? Anybody have between 10 and 15? If you had between 10 and 15, stand up, please. Who had the most? 12? 13? 12? Anybody else have 12? Let's test her. Let's see.
I'm like those bingo people.
Let's look at her 12 boxes, shall we?
Yes.
Christine? Okay, Christine. Okay, Christine said the first box, let the good times roll. What letter do you think that is?
I.
Everybody think it's an I?
Yeah.
Anybody think it's anything else?
How about a D?
The ayes have it.
Yes, I told you.
Okay, the next box going over to the right. Security is very important to me. There's some conflict in the room. The correct answer is S.
Yes.
Christine had that one right.
Good one.
Going over under the N, my mantra, I won it yesterday.
D.
We all agree it's D?
Yes.
Yep, and Christine had that. Next one over, as long as we can have fun, I'm in. Anybody disagree? The ayes have it, Christine. Christine, thank you for letting me tease you. We love Christine. Okay, so now Christine's down to 10. I am loyal, friendly, and dependable. Sounds like a little dog, doesn't it?
Yes.
Anybody disagree? S. Okay, we're gonna go to the next line. I love a challenge and a competition.
D.
Of course. I like when my life is highly organized and structured.
C.
Yep. I'm high energy and optimistic. Everybody agree? Ayes have it. And Christine, I am direct and I like others to be direct with me.
D.
Yep. I love consumer reports for making decisions.
D.
Yep. I like to be appreciated for my intelligence. I'm offended by this question. I hope you all know. I want to be appreciated for my intelligence too. It's a C. I used to get in trouble for talking too much in school. Ayes have it, of course. Okay, Christine, you were close, but not quite 12, my dear. Anybody have any ahas just from that quick exercise? Everything. We're going to keep talking about it then. This is exactly why you and I want to know about DISC, because DISC allows us to connect better to others. Because if you know that the person sitting next to you or your client or your family members and I, do you talk to them the same exact way as you would a C? I mean, you could, but the connection's greater when we meet people where they are. When we continue to show up and meet people where they are, that's how we become people of influence. Okay, let's talk about communicating with a D. Does this sound right, Ds? Be brief, direct, to the point. Ask what, not how questions. Focus on results. Don't ramble. Discuss a problem and its effect on outcomes. What questions do you have about communicating with the D style? Are we starting to get the picture with the Ds? Yeah, they want things to be quick. They want fast. Don't ask them how to do something. They're just gonna tell you what to do. You gotta go figure it out. You gotta go ask somebody else. Don't ramble to Ds. Don't do that. I've done that.
I just got that conversation. So to translate that into real estate, in a listing presentation, could they care less about our little package and our little phone?
They what now?
Could care less about my little cute packet.
That's exactly right. Oh, I love that you brought that up. I was in Bold many moons ago, and someone at my table, she had a listing presentation the night before, and she was an I. So she had a bunch of stuff in her folder that she wanted to share, and that seller, he was a D. He's like, where do I sign? And she said, had I kept talking, I would have lost him. Had I wanted to show all my colorful stuff and what I would have lost him. He just wanted to sign the paper. Let him sign the paper. But keep all that together because you're gonna have a C, right? My least favorite clients in real estate. The C's, they want everything. And we have to be ready for them. And that's okay, right? That's okay that they want everything. I used to think it was a bad thing. Now that I've been married to a C for 15 years, it's a great thing. Because we need other people that are not like us on our teams and our households to work with, because they bring things we don't bring to the table. Eyes, don't do all the talking. Why? Because eyes want to talk. Don't ignore their ideas. Allow time for socialize. Follow up with the details in writing, you bet. And 4 short 10-minute discussions are better than 1 40-minute. Is that true, eyes? Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Yes. This slide was up on my big monitor in my office at home, and my husband comes walking in and he reads it. And he goes, huh, so is that true for you? I should do a shorter version of my story than a long one? Yes, that's true for me. Please stop the long ones. Oh my gosh, my husband wants to tell me everybody and every detail and what they said. I don't need all that. But guess what? He's allowed to do that. He's allowed to do that. Aren't people allowed to be themselves? Because what happens if we don't allow them the space to be themselves? We don't have many relationships. We have to be careful when we're in relationship with anybody else, partners, spouses, children, clients, that we're not letting it be our way. We become people of influence when we adapt and adjust to them. That's how it happens. S's, oh, sweet S's, we love you. Create a friendly tone, show interest in them as a person. Don't be overly aggressive. Minimize the potential for confrontation. They're opposite of D's. D's will bring it on. S's, Give definition to the goal and role and give them time to adjust to changes. However, the DS combo as a work team is powerful. It's one of the best work teams. Many times they're highly successful when you've got a D leader and an S support person. That's a great match. That's a match made in heaven. And that's where the S's want to be. Terrell?
Regina, through all the years, and you know how many times we've been through this together and our assessment. S is probably the most difficult one for me to pick up right off the bat.
Tell us more. It's difficult for you to pick up right off the bat.
Yeah.
And tell us why that is.
I don't know. I think I categorize anyone on that spectrum more as a C. And
there's a lot of crossover with the C's, the S, just like with the D's and the I's. We blend heavily on those two areas. So I can see why.
Yeah, right off the bat, it's just so hard. You know, of course, if they do something, and I know there's acts of kindness and things of that nature, I can see it, but a lot of times that has to be pulled out. I can't identify it.
And they're both reserved
Right.
styles.
Yeah,
S is
very
in the
reserved.
C.
That's what I said. They're
So
not-
that's what you're kind of up against at first, right?
Yeah.
And it's
And I'm
hard.
like you, I'm a high. I'm a very high.
Yes,
So
you-
it's like,
Yes, he is. I heard somebody say it. Amen. Like, yes, he is.
Donate some money already. Like, let me know here and that. So like,
Right.
do something. I don't know. But am I off, like? or is
You're
it
not
just-
off at all because behavior is complicated. My husband is a CDI, all three above the midline. He is the nicest person I know. He's a CDI. You might mistake him for an S if he came in here, or a plain simple I, because some days he talks more than I do. Nicest person I know. And we talked about earlier the three factors: environment, heredity, and role models that go into shaping that behavior. This is why it's not simple. This is why we're just looking for some clues to natural behavior. We're looking for a few clues, because if my husband walked in here, you probably wouldn't guess him right off the bat. What'd you think, Jerome?
It's 25. Her phone just went off.
Oh, we love that. Christine, we love that. But Terrell brought up a great point. Personalities are hard to pick up sometimes. When you're an S personality, that S and C blend. I might be wrong about you at first, just like D's and I's have a tendency to heavily blend. So keep that in mind. Terrell had a great point, but behavior is complicated. We might not get it right. That's why we're just looking for a few clues and cues. Let's talk about the C's for a second. Provide all the details, right, Alicia? Use facts, be precise, be specific, answer all their questions. Be ready for the questions, y'all. Now, my husband and I, of course, we go to the same dentist, and our appointments for cleaning were a couple of days apart. So I walk in on, I think, a Tuesday for my teeth cleaning, and I didn't even read my bill because I've been going there forever since I moved here 15, 16 years ago. So I just signed my bill. I'm chatting with the ladies I leave. My husband, who's been at this dental office even longer than I have, he's reading his bill. Not because he doesn't trust them, he's known them since our son was this big. He's a C. He's reading his bill. He's like, wait a minute, I don't think I've got the new teeth cleaning, whatever that I'm being charged for here. They looked it up. He hadn't been getting it. It was on my bill and I didn't notice it. Now, my husband's sweet. He's known them forever, so they refunded our money. He's a C. He asked a question. We got money back. I had that same bill in my hands 2 days prior. I didn't ask a question. Now, it's not because we're not interested. I trust them. I've been going there for a while. As an I want the details that only pertain to what I need. As a C, he wanted them all. Every detail, more details, the more the merrier. I only want the details that I need. I didn't need that. C's, they ask a lot of questions and they want a lot of information. And is this a negative thing? No, it's a great thing. C's all are my favorite. They're all my favorite people because I have no C. That's why we need each other. We'll come back to that. Okay, what's the best style? Why? Because it makes you who you are. Why else?
It's who you are naturally. You don't have to put a lot of effort into being
right.
you.
And we need you. We need you. I did this presentation and one of my friends over at Sugarloaf a few years ago, she goes, oh, I want to be an I like you. I said, no, you don't. No, you don't want to be an I, right, Terrell? No, the struggle is real. The struggle is real. We have struggles. We have lots of struggles. Every style does, of course, but she wanted to be an I and she was a wonderful, beautiful C personality. We need her to be a C. Because I don't know about you, but as an I treasure the S's, I treasure the C's, I treasure the D's.
Yes.
On our DISC faculty, there's 8 of us faculty on the John Maxwell DISC team. We are so privileged to get to serve the team as faculty members. The head of DISC is a D named Deb Ingino. She's one of the sweetest, nicest people I've ever met. When I heard the story when she was in corporate America, people were jumping off of her team. She was getting superb results. She's a D. But people did not want to be on a team with her. Why might they not want to be on a team with her?
She was too strong.
She was too strong of a personality. And so for 2 years, she read John Maxwell's Everybody Communicates, Few Connect, and worked on a principle and a practice every month for 2 years. She is one of the loveliest people I know. She's a D. She's a D. I would have never known that. And we were on a faculty call the other night getting ready for our event in March. And the first thing she said was, well, let's talk about, and then she stopped herself because it probably had been 2 months since we were all on Zoom together as faculty. She said, let me find out how all you all are. So we went around the Zoom room and we all got to say how we were feeling, how we were doing. We had a couple sick faculty members. I didn't even know it. I was so glad that she slowed us down and asked, how's everybody? How's everybody's holiday? How's everybody doing? And I found out things, one of my team members had fallen, slipped, hurt himself. I didn't know that because we're all on Facebook. And when you're on Facebook, I'm writing, happy birthday, Terrell. You don't know that I'm home in bed sick. We have to slow down and understand. And when you're a D in any style for that matter, it's what are the 2 words we talked about earlier? Grace and humility. That's how you win friends and influence people regardless of your style. I want to talk to you guys about this assessment as we keep learning, because you could say I'm biased, but this is the best DISC assessment in the world. It's just the best. It's 30 pages. I want to talk about these 3 graphs. These are mine. These are mine. We have 3. I think we're the only, still the only assessment with 3. I'm going to call myself out on a couple things. Graph number 1 is the public self. So what our model of DISC, and you may or may not be familiar with this, but our model of DISC does it just a tiny bit differently. And we want to discuss the public self, the private self, and the perceived self. So there's a public you, right? Now, if you're different in public than you are in private, is that fake? No, it's not. No, it's not. So this graph 1, oh, I love it when the little thing works. I'm an I love it when that works. Okay, graph 1 represents the public self. This is how you would show up in your chosen environment. This is my environment. What do I do most days? I'm speaking live, virtually, coaching. I'm in that arena. Last time I took a DISC assessment, this is my public self. Now, just you guys can't read this, just know that the D's first, I, S, and C on all 3 graphs. So my D is super low right there. That's the lowest my D's ever shown up. My I is sky high. It helps to do this. It's a help. If I were too shy and too reserved or too in your face, that might hurt. My style of presentation isn't perfect. Some days I nail it, some days I don't. But in my chosen environment, my I is pretty high. My S and C below the line, but my D really takes a nosedive. Because what I'm sensing from the demands of my environment, especially when I put on my coaching hat, I don't need any D. In this room right now, I get to have fun with y'all. I don't really need my D. And that's how most of my day-to-day environment is. So think about your day-to-day environment. Think about what style you have that may show up as your highest style in the environment. Now, graph number 2 is who we are at our core. This is where it gets interesting, because this is where this graph, where we talk about who we are when there's tension, when there's stress. Okay, under stress, oh, isn't this interesting? My D, well above the midline, and so is my S. My I is still, it dipped a little bit. So under stress, my D leaps, and so does my S. So when I first took this, and I noticed this above my graph, because I told you guys that story earlier, I've sworn y'all to secrecy. When I found out I was an IS, I wanted to rip it up and take another assessment. Remember, we don't talk about that outside of this room. I also saw this graph, and I said, dang, boy, this is so different. So I go in there and ask my husband, I said, I know I get stressed out. When do you see me stressed? Well, he started to laugh. So be careful what you ask somebody, especially when they start laughing at the question. I said, when do you see me stressed? He starts laughing. He goes, are you kidding? Anytime we have to travel. And then I started laughing because he's right. This is exactly who I am on travel day. Once I'm at the gate, I'm great. I live, you guys know this because we all live in this town with the world's busiest airport, right?
Yeah.
I live 42.5 miles away. You better believe my D is sky high. I'm the one at the top of the stairs throwing luggage down the stairs, yelling, go, go, go. That's who I am. So that D, that's exactly where it belongs. I've gotten better. but that's where I am on travel day. I'm yelling at my husband, we gotta go, get out the door, because he's slow. Oh, okay, sure, we can go. That's him. Meanwhile, I'm a crazy person. My eye dips a little bit. Now, eye measures how talkative we are. So let me go back for a second. D measures how authoritative we are. Okay, how direct we are. It measures that. My D's up. I measures how talkative, how persuasive we are on these graphs. Mine dipped a little bit. I don't want to talk about it. I just want you to get in the car. No conversation. We need to get in the car and go to the airport. My S goes up because guess what happens when we're in the car? Oh, slow down. Be careful. We got to get there safe. Because the S's want that security, that stability, harmony. I don't want us out here at 85 and we have an accident. So even though I'm rushing this poor man out of the house, once we're in the car, oh, slow down, you're going too fast. This is what becomes interesting about our styles. And how fabulous that I know this about myself, because guess what we do now on travel day? We laugh. We laugh. The night before, I'm looking at this graph. I'm like, you see, the night before, I'm showing him my graph. This is what happens when you understand personalities. You laugh, you enjoy, you compliment each other, and you adapt and adjust when you need to. So my husband knows how I am on travel day. He speeds it up a little bit. He speeds it up a little bit because that's what we do. We have to allow other people to be themselves. And if we're with the right people, they allow us to be ourselves too. Graph number 3, the perceived self, the mirror. That graph is how I see me most of the time. What's interesting about the Maxwell assessment is the contents of the report are based on graph 3. So graph 3, not graph 1, not graph 2, but graph 3 generates the rest of the report. I, pretty high. D, just below the midline, but y'all remember when I was brand new to DISC, I was an ID. Then in 2018, I became a coach, heavily involved in Sugarloaf culture. Matter of fact, I was the culture person in the region that year. So of course my S ticked up. I was heavily leaning towards my S characteristics. My S, it went up, but it's like right on the line, right from the D. And my C, God love my C, never comes up. That is what we get the entire report. And you know why? Why isn't it? Because a lot of my clients have asked me when I'm reviewing their assessment, why isn't it based off graph 3? If that, graph 2, if that's who I am at my core, if that's who I am under stress, if that's the instinctive me, graph 3. Because we can't outperform our own behavior. We can't outperform our own self-image. That graph 3 represents my self-image, and yours, it would represent your self-image. That's how I see me. And I can't outperform that. So if I see myself a certain way, a D, I, S, C, whatever that is, that's going to drive my performance. I see myself that way. It's not 100%, but it's pretty darn close. Eyes. Who are the eyes in the room? Can you raise your hand again? Okay. This would probably be you. Are you an eye?
Yes.
Okay. There was a little discussion I thought happening back there. Were you in the room with us? You weren't in the, were you in the room when we did the exercise in the beginning? Okay, let me ask you 2 questions for those of you that missed it. If I were asking you, are you more outgoing or reserved? What would your answer be?
That depends.
It depends?
Yeah.
Good answer, because what did I say earlier? You're both. I said some of you in this room are going to say, but I'm both. Of course you are. Which one are you just a little bit more? 49 to 51%. Just a smidge more.
I would say I'm more outgoing because I'm willing to do.
Okay. So,
But
and
I get some energy if I go inside. If I'm by myself, I can, recharge a little bit. When I'm outside and with people, I perform.
you and I must be separated at birth. As an I feel the exact same way. We'll come back to you in 1 second. So family reunion many, many moons ago, one of the gals at Sugarloaf tries to say who's all rooming with who. Regina, you room, No, ma'am. Let me tell myself.
That's so right on time. You know, coming you this next week. That is so funny.
So here's what was happening many moons ago with Sugarloaf in the break room. My friend Gail was separating us into who was going to room together. Because there was a group of about 6 or 7 of us. We all really liked each other. And so they just assumed I would room with someone. No. But you're an I. You love people. Yes. And you know why I love people so much? Because when I'm by myself, I get to recharge. Because my very first or second family reunion, I roomed with somebody. Mistake. She loved to talk so much. I was in the bed. I saw my glasses on because we were chatting a little bit. I fell asleep with my glasses on while she was talking because she loved to talk so much. I was like, I can't do this. I will not go to family reunion and share a room. I will not go in a share room because I have to have that time to recharge. Right. So make no mistake about it. When you see your I friends that are talkative, that are bubbly, that love people, a lot of us, not 100%, a lot of us need that time alone to recharge. Now I have I friends that are so I, they annoy me. I have I friends that are so I, not you, Terrell, that annoy me.
But Regina, that's so funny. I never knew. Man, this is, I love, that's why we should take this class like every week, right? We didn't have her last year because of it's funny to hear that because when I do that alone time, and when I think about it, like on Sundays, because I'm out so much, I'll see you.
We see you out a lot, don't we?
It's not football season. I'm home, and you know I may go a couple of stretches while I'm home, and I'll start to get text messages like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going?" I'm like, I've only been home for 2 days. Like, yeah, I'm fine. But
You needed that time.
Sometimes.
Did you need that time? You need that downtime to decompress, didn't you? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Because how we show up in our environment, Terrell's a team leader. Most of our team leaders have a high D or high I as their primary style. Could an S or a C be a team leader? You bet. But why are folks like Terrell, who, by the way, #1 recruiter in the Southeast? I saw that and I had tears in my eyes when I saw that. I had tears in my eyes when I saw that because Terrell's one of the greatest people that I know. And so for him to get acknowledged like that. Could an S or a C do that? Yeah, they could, but could it be tougher?
Yeah. It takes more work.
Because of what?
It takes more work. You have to become somebody else in order to do that.
Oh, did y'all hear that? An S or C could definitely be a team leader. They could be good like Terrell. But boy, oh boy, would it take some work and some effort. It would take a lot of work and a lot of effort from a C and an S. Is everybody okay? Yes. Am I okay? Okay. I've knocked out the batteries out of this. We're gonna do our pop quiz here in a second because we're running out of time. But I wanted to point that out to you guys because behavior is not one and done. It's not simple. That's why we have 3 graphs. I want to show you one other thing real quick before we take our pop quiz. This power disc page. This is my favorite page in our whole report because these are the 7 areas of how we generate outcomes and leadership and results. And there are 7 different categories. You can't read them, but I'm high in 3 of them above the midline. I've met people that are high in all of them. And guess what? They're stressed. They're burnt out. I mean, if you're going to be high in all of them, go for it. Great. It's hard to do. It's hard to be all things to all people. That's why we need you to show up naturally and authentically as you. But as an I, influencing, persisting, not persisting, that's where you see people, or D people. Influencing, creating, and relating are high. And that makes sense for an I. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the pop quiz because I'm running out of time. I was looking at this clock instead of my phone. So let's do pop quiz. Everybody stand up.
Right.
Don't make her do it now. Okay, everybody have their 4 cards. This is where you're gonna need your 4 cards. Okay. I'm gonna read a statement to you and you're gonna hold up the card that you think most sounds like that statement, okay? You'll get it after this. which style, you're gonna hold up the corresponding card, want you to provide them with lots of objective information. I see lots of blue C cards. Okay, awesome, everybody's still in. Which style might you reward by giving them more space, more autonomy, more freedom? If you were managing this particular style and you wanted to reward them by giving them more space, more freedom, more autonomy. Ooh, we got a mix. I love it when this happens. Okay, if you're holding a green card, hold it up high. Have a seat, please. Now, I'm gonna give you the question one more time, because we still have a mixture. We still have red and we still have yellow. Which style would you reward if you were managing this person, you were their leader? Would you reward by giving them more space and more freedom, more autonomy? Okay, if you have your last call. This is last
What's
call.
the purpose of reading it again?
That is the purpose.
I'm torn.
Okay.
I don't know.
If you have a red card, the D, hold it up real high. Y'all stay standing. Yellow.
Yeah. She said it in the change. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds competitive too.
Which style values freedom of expression? You can play at your seat if you want, sure. Which style values freedom of expression? Only because you're. Every class, somebody holds up two cards at the same time. Okay, everybody that's standing, aye, perfect. Being impulsive might be a limitation of which style? Being impulsive might be a limitation of which style? I love it because we have different answers. Even the people sitting down have different answers. So if you're standing up, being impulsive is a limitation of, if you got a blue card, hold it up high, have a seat. Oh, good, we're down to two. Okay. Which style prioritizes being correct? Which style prioritizes being correct? Oh, I'm sorry, then I. I was the last one. I was the last one. Which style might be limited by being impulsive? No, not this one, stand up. I didn't give the last answer. It was impulsive was the I. Okay, which style values being correct? Which style values being correct? Come on, ladies, we're down to two. Last call. What is every class, especially in a KW office? Right. Correct.
Yeah. They both got it.
Okay. So now we're gonna do quick answer. Who wants to answer first? No, I'm gonna give you the question. And the first one, I'm gonna give you guys a question. You have to answer it. What's the greatest fear of the D? Who wants to go first? Raise your hand. Greatest fear of the D. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh,
Being taken advantage of.
you got it.
That was really good. And it's funny, I've just been this February, I've been in such a giving mood. Have you ever heard of Andre Bocelli? Would you like to see him tonight? I got 2 tickets for him.
Wow. Oh my God. That's awesome. Okay, because I was a little bit off with time, I want to wrap up by having you guys give me your ahas. What did you like? What did you confused by? What didn't you like? What made sense? What doesn't make sense? What are your ahas, your comments, your questions? Hold on, Shay.
My first one and everlasting will be strengths overused becomes a weakness.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely like that.
Yeah, because think about each one of them. The D's are very direct, right? They push hard, they drive results. But couldn't that be a weakness if you killed people 7 days a week in that? That's why my friend Deb was a D with strong results, but people wanted to get off her team as fast as they could when she was in corporate. Yes, ma'am.
The question, how often does it just change?
It depends on your life.
Okay.
It just depends on your life. I've had a single mom who was an S while she was married. Then she became a single mom with 2 boys. Boy, her high D kicked in again. So your life situation can change it. Yes, ma'am.
I think my aha was talking about your friend Debbie, like me coming from corporate,
Uh-huh.
I was a high D. People, you know, they were on my team, but I was tough love. I had all the high numbers, but
Mhm.
retention was a little low. But I produced, and now shifting to this industry of real estate, entrepreneurship, business owner, I'm starting to kind of gravitate out of that. Like I still have it in me, in my
Sure.
core, but I'm more moving away from that. Now I'm interested here because I thought I was a DI,
Uh-huh.
and this exercise has me as a DC.
Okay.
So I'm just like, I'm a little confused right now. So I need to like take all this in.
Well, you know, what you said actually made sense to me. You were in corporate and you were all about results and you pushed people and it was tough love. You got to have a lot of task in you. So the DC might make sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Totally makes sense. Who's next? You and then in the back?
I guess for me, the similarities to the Enneagram, because I guess I'm a high D. I thought I was more of a D, but.
What do you think you are in this one?
Well,
A D?
Okay.
Okay.
ID, I guess I would say, but it's everything that I take is always, because on the Enneagram, I'm a 3 and a 7.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that's.
And I'm a little bit familiar with the Enneagram, not much.
I am. So it's just interesting.
It is.
Similarities across all types of different platforms.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think for me, when I took my assessment,
Uh-huh.
I came out as SC and I was very confused. But after hearing your story about your friend with the D, I can totally understand that because I probably would have been a DD. I had to really learn how to work at pulling out an S and an I, especially in my corporate environment.
Ooh, I love what you just said. You had to work to pull out your S and your I out of you.
Because my D was so D,
Uh-huh.
and it very much so became a weakness.
That's right. But any of us, through grace, humility, through having an action plan, like my friend Deb and Gina, who leads us in DISC, who's one of the sweetest women I know, people fled off her team because she was such a high D. She took 2 years, studied John's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, and her I is now tied with her D. She's so warm, she's so lovely, but she pushes us to do what we need to do as well. Yeah, who's next? Yes, ma'am, Christine.
You said Christine?
I'm sorry. No.
Okay.
No, Christine, you didn't have your hand up, did you?
I did earlier.
Okay, well,
I was just gonna say, I have to go home and make my husband do this because I get on his nerves. I am a very
I love the couple stories. Those are my favorite.
I'm a fly by the seat of my pants. I talk to people everywhere we go.
Uh-huh.
I'm ready to go. And I know we're polar opposites. So I need to figure out what his style is. I think would help.
And before I go, I want you guys to know that the assessments and a debrief with me are $99. For you guys, for being here, it's on my website, but I'll shoot agent services and Terrell an email to shoot out, be $69. So if you want to get one, I'm just going to have that available to you guys for a while. Yeah, I'm just going to have it available to the Tucker group and whoever you guys send. It's already on my website. If I can pull it up, I will, but I want to do more aha. We can maybe do that while we're doing ahas. Who's next?
Thank you.
So I guess mine is kind of I'm a D in corporate. As much as I try not to be a D, I could be on a team, I could be supportive. I always end up
Leading the team?
leading the team.
Do you want to always end up leading the team?
No, but when I took it twice. I told Terrell I was a DS every time because I've learned how to be supportive and with my kids. I am very high strong D. Traveling,
Right,
everybody get their bag, be in the car,
right.
this time, blah, blah, blah. But I realize I'm going too far and then I start being very supportive. So I'm it's total opposite. I know how to bring you in and make you feel comfortable with the fact that I just.
That is powerful because that's exactly the purpose of a class and a moment like this is knowing who you are, really understanding who you are, and then knowing how to bring out the rest of the traits you might need depending upon the environment and who you're with. That's being a person of influence. If I walk around all the time, oh, thank you so much, hon. If I walk around all the time, thank you, as an I can't influence anybody. But when I sit down and I get to know who you are, and if you're a D, and if I'm sharp, and if I'm quick, and I don't drag my feet, you're gonna appreciate that about me. And if you're a C and I go slower with information, you're gonna appreciate that about me. That's how you become a person of influence. That's how it's done. Oh, okay, so on Saturday, my mentor, Paul Martinelli, and I are launching an emotional intelligence program on empowered living. I won't go into that right now because I want to show you guys that if you just go to my name, Regina Bryan, and go under more, I have a disc at KW Tucker. This is my thank you page to you guys. Special price, $69. As long as I keep it there, at least a week, maybe longer. Point family members, friends, clients, anybody you want for that price. I'm just gonna keep it right there. You guys in this room know about it. Like I said, I'll shoot this as an email to agent services and to Terrell. And I'm gonna stick around for a couple of minutes if anybody else has ahas and questions, but let me just say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. I love that so many of you were here today.
Thank you.
I don't know where, y'all tell me. Okay. All of us, whoever among us can get up here, can squeeze in.
You want to face that, or you want to go this way?
Whichever way you, whatever way we need to.
Okay, so.
And as many of us as we can. You guys are so great. Thank you so much. Come on in. I'll get back here somewhere. Okay.
Are you hungry?
I'm like, what's next? What box?
So as many of us that can fit. I was trying to
Everybody hold your breath. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, cheese. 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. You look.
Thank you.
And with this, I came out with C.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I need to do this again.
You do need to do this again.
And I've done it, like this is, it pretty much parallels the same information that we did with KW did. So, yeah.
Yeah, most just have that. They're very similar.
Because when I saw the analytical part with C, I'm like, I'm very short and I have to control that. It's like, I'll listen to the information that I need, and once I get what I need, don't tell me anything else. But it's certain information I need, and I'm like, okay.
And after that, you're done. You don't want
I'm done. I don't hear anything. But I gotta have certain things, and you gotta give me that before I can. So I don't know what that is.
It's being you. You know, it's not black and white, is it? It depends, it's situational, but we're looking for, I mean, at our most natural self. Even though my D and my S might switch up, that I is just sort of a foundation. It's my most natural self. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
He is a D all day long. He hates it on my eye. He's like, oh, he's like, I know you feel like that meat because you talk too much. The meat is over and you're still there. He texts me so we can He's such a He's such a delight. Let's go. Right now. So when you gonna close?
And think about, and we know that you guys are in a relationship, learn to hear from each other. Think about how that shows up just across the board when we are so D or so I with everything. It's like, wait a minute,
Because when you go to the gym in your element, he in a whole conversation talking to everybody.
Isn't that something?
And I'll be like this. Oh, you the eye today. Cause you hold,
Oh, you got it. I love
cause
that.
you have a whole conversation with everybody. You call me, I'll be sitting there, you hold the whole conversation. It's like, so in his element, he's a whole eye. But he gets a
But
naturally, he's a deep, because when we out about social, he does that. He sits back.
But now, I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, I've been told that, you don't know how to say something. I'm like, I'll be in my house, yeah. And I had.
That's a Tiffany, I don't understand what you don't
And
get.
see, and I had to hold my S down because I'm so sensitive.
But no,
So
that's
I had
when I
to
started
hold my S down with dealing with him. I am a so emotional person, so, and he's like, and I'll be like,
That is why it's important for the give and the take.
so I had to take my S down.
And they think you call them stupid?
Yeah.
But I am like, I'm very supportive. My friends call me somebody. But they also call me when they need to make a decision.
Yeah.
When they indecisive, they was like,
It's a foundation. And that's where you need a little more foundation, but you can pull on that easily.
yeah.
And that's when
I have to watch what I say.
and I had to, it's crazy, 'cause I'm a D in my family dynamic with my mom, my family. I'm the leader, I'm the one taking charge, I have to do this, so I'm a D in this ring. But I be like, but I need my space to need y'all to lead. But I'm an I, I'm like, y'all have a valid, I'm a D.
And even as a D, you need that space. Most people need that space. Even D's, even I's. You wanna, I need breathing.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm an introvert and extrovert, so you can't go, I am because I'm an extrovert when I'm, I said, but when I'm at home, I'm be like.
When are you most comfortable doing it?
When I'm out and about, I'm